today. And just to give a heads up, you guys, we're going to try and be mindful of Lynn's time. They are at the end of the month, have a lot going on. So, which I'll know for next time we have a title person to kind of avoid the end of the month. So we're going to try and keep this to a half an hour. But yeah, we're just going to go over just what is title? Probably the most need to know for you guys as agents. So let's just get right into it.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for joining. We'll just kind of dive right in. And of course, if anybody has questions, by all means, stop into one of our offices, come see us, shoot us an email. We are reachable just about any time with any questions that you might have. So we'll kind of start with what is title insurance? Keep in mind that in a real estate transaction, there are two different types of title insurance available. As the agent, you are going to deal primarily with an owner's title, which is going to protect both the buyer and seller in a real estate transaction. There also is a lender's policy in a real estate transaction that protects that lender. If in the event that a buyer would foreclose or stop paying the bills, that the lender would be able to get the property back in a foreclosure. So we can move on to the next slide. So what does title insurance cover? I'm sorry, was somebody have a question? Just making sure. What does title insurance cover or protect? In a real estate transaction, typically the seller, it's customary for the seller to pay for title insurance for the buyer. And that title insurance is the owner's policy, and that's going to protect that buyer and seller, really at the end of the day, for things similar to claims of ownership interest, documents that have been improperly recorded, liens, encroachments, easements, just basically other things that are detailed out in the owner's policy. So I would probably suggest at some point just taking a moment to really look closely at a title insurance commitment when it's sent to you. There's a lot of information on our policies, and I think our commitments are really neat because in the column, and you'll see some examples coming up, but in the columns it explains exactly what you're looking at, who the people are, where the names are, all of those types of things. And we'll go into that in a few slides coming. So if you want to move to the next one. Excellent. So this is going to talk primarily about different things that a title insurance would be responsible for. We take care of getting payoffs for judgments, mortgages, just about anything that you could come up with. Your closing department will handle working through those details with you. Releases on land contracts, just a wide variety of different things we take care of clearing for you guys in a real estate transaction. Curing of defects would be, again, those liens for previous owners, typographical errors on legal descriptions. Sometimes it goes as deep as estate issues for someone who may be deceased on title. So we work on a lot of different aspects when it comes to clearing a title.
Let's give an example of a judgment or a lien. I'm just trying to think of, like, when you guys ask for lien waivers for closing, like an example could be a contractor who needs to collect an outstanding bill from a seller, and he places a lien on the title.
Yep.
And you are looking for that.
Yeah, judgments can be very, very far and very vast in the different reasons as to how they appear on title. It can be, that somebody had a credit card and didn't pay the bill. It could be a medical collection. It could be, that they, fell on hard times for a while and had a lot of different debts that were included in on a bankruptcy. They can also go in different directions, like, the person had a furnace installed and never paid the contractors. Keep in mind those contractors have up to 6 months after the work is done to be placing liens like that against the property. So there are a lot of different reasons. Somebody had just a parking ticket, believe it or not. We've seen, motor vehicle tickets come up on a title policy. So there are a lot of different reasons why there could potentially be a judgment or that type of lien on title. Mortgages obviously are a big piece. Again, just kind of going back to the bankruptcy piece, bankruptcy can be considered a cloud or a lien on title that we have to work on clearing that requirement. Divorces, so an open pending divorce case could be considered a cloud on title. We may need to jump through some hoops to show that divorce is in good standing. So there are a lot of different reasons. And I will say, you should know that it's on your title policy, but your title company should be working with you directly to help get in touch with your seller and work through the steps to get all of those items cleared. So, it won't be too long after your title policy comes out that one of your closing agents will be calling you to let you know, hey, this is what we're working on. Let's work on this together. And we do try to connect directly with you guys as soon as we see something on title.
Yeah, and that's just to give you guys as agents peace of mind, just to know that, that our title people our title examiners are the experts, and they'll work with you, as Lynn said, on how we need to get in touch with the seller to clear these things up, and that you don't have to be experts in knowing like where a cloud is.
Yep.
And cloud can be interchangeable with the word defect. Title
Cloud, defect, lien, kind of all the same. Yep.
Yeah. So just again, just so that you know that you don't have to be experts in what they're looking for, but just know that you'll need to be available to to get in touch with your sellers on how you guys are going to be clearing these up. So.
And that's one of the reasons why when I'm working with new agents, I typically suggest to them, we have an authorization form that allows us to clear title on the customer's behalf. And I really encourage my agents, when they're putting together their listing presentation, to leave that seller authorization behind as a piece of homework to be done while all the other things are going on. There's a couple of reasons for that. And we'll be showing you that form in a little bit as well, but that form is super, super important for us to be able to start to just about do anything on title. The more complete we get that form back, the easier it's going to make life for all of us, right? It talks about whether or not they're married. It talks about their mortgage information. It talks about homeowners association, condo association contacts. All of that stuff is very important because now that's going to allow us to work on clearing that title. Without that, we're not technically supposed to clear anything. So it really is essentially permission for us to begin work on title. So that form is very important to us for that reason. And it does have sensitive information on it. So if you have a seller that's just giving you some pushback and having a hard time about that, don't feel like you have to make that push. Communicate that to us. We can work on obtaining that information with that seller directly if they don't want to put that information in front of you. We get that. We know there are some people that are a little more difficult to collect information from.
And just to be clear, this is a form for sellers, and you will bring this along on your listing presentations and or when you're executing listing paperwork.
And I know that document is located in Command. We used to require it to be a wet signed form, meaning real ink signatures. COVID happened and a lot of the lenders that wouldn't allow us to use a DocuSign on that before do now. So at the very least, if you can get it DocuSigned, that's great. We do still have a handful of lenders that require real signatures. We'd rather cross that bridge when it comes than not have the form back at all. So if, it's something that you can't get and it's just easier for you to set it up via DocuSign so that it comes back to us, totally fine. Like I said, we'd rather have the DocuSign version than not have a form at all. So
Okay.
that's our take on that. So a very important piece. And that, like I said, is essentially our permission to start work for your customers.
Good to know that. Okay.
Yeah. So sold, now what? I mean, that's the greatest part, right? The first piece, I guess, for everyone is to know, don't wait. Don't wait until after home inspection to send us an order. The sooner you get us an order, the better. Let's just say you submitted the order, it goes through home inspection, and there's things that come up in home inspection, and now we have a camera. Not the end of the world, because in this market, it's not like you're going to stop listing it. We're going to catch up with you again later on down the road. So very important that as soon as you get an accepted offer, you're getting that over to us so we can begin our title search. We do have this form available that you guys are seeing on the screen now. A lot of times I know you guys will get that question, why do I have to pay for title insurance? What is title insurance? What is the purpose? So we do have this form, again, that you can make part of your listing contract just to kind of help navigate through with your seller exactly, why they're kind of the ones pulling the strings on the title insurance piece. So we can get that form too. Just reach out if that's something you're looking to have. Let's move on to the next slide.
Nice.
So again, once we get that accepted offer, we're going to start the process of composing a title. So we're going to begin our title search. Our title department will begin their title search. We order special assessment letters. And that's another topic that we could talk about for a while. So we'll save that for another Zoom call. But you will be getting special assessment letters. And those special assessment letters we obtain directly from the municipality. And those detail out all of the pieces of the puzzle: taxes, water, sewer, whether or not there's special assessments for, street repairs, sidewalk repairs, anything of that nature. So that is an important piece. You as the agent should be getting that special assessment letter when you get the preliminary closing statement to review. Once the title report is done, we will begin clearing anything that we need to clear, mortgages, judgments, whatever the case may be. We do, however, ask you as the agent that you take a moment when you get this in your email to just take a quick review of it. We certainly aren't asking for you to double check the legal description or anything like that. But remember, real estate transactions are constantly changing, right? Amendments are happening for purchase price. A buyer decided to put the property in a trust. So as soon as you guys get a title insurance commitment, we ask that you open it up and just take a look. Look at that first page. That proposed amount of insurance, that is your purchase price. Is that the correct purchase price? Is that the correct buyer? Is that the correct seller? Maybe you have been talking to somebody all along that you thought was a seller, and it turns out they're just the kid and this is their parents' property. So there's a lot of possibilities. So we, again, just ask that you open up that page one, take a look at that. Again, you could go further deep dive into your title policy pages here. Schedule B2, so that's going to be a couple pages down. So right into the next page. Right in here is where you're going to see all those mortgages and judgments. So those are the things that we're now going to begin clearing. And like I said, as your closing agent, we're going to reach out to you if there's something that we can't do on our own. A lot of times we'll just go right to the seller and obtain what we need to obtain. And we would reach out to you if we needed more contact or more information or a little guidance to clear those things. So once we've cleared title, then we're going to begin the process of getting paperwork established for closing. We're going to reach out to your sellers to see if they are interested in setting up a pre-sign. And then shortly after that, we're going to prepare a closing statement. I can't stress enough how important a nice looking offer to purchase follows through to a nice looking closing statement. So this is something that I don't think a lot of agents understand, how much we rely on the offer to purchase to prepare a closing statement. So everything that you put on there, from earnest money to purchase price to buyer's names to use and occupancy, we as the closing agent are pulling all of that information off the offer to purchase. We prepare the closing statement based on the facts from the offer, the special assessment letters, the payoffs, and then the title policy. So again, we really do ask that at the point that you get this closing statement, you open it up and take a look to make sure that you're seeing things that were what you intended them to be. There's a lot of times where, as the closing agent, we have to try to figure out what the true intention was, especially with these use and occupancies these days. Holy cow, is there a lot to figure out what the intention was. So open up the statement, take a look. We ask that you look at things like the purchase price. Was there an amendment? How about the earnest money? A lot of times, you know, an offer will be accepted with a higher earnest money than what was originally stated. Taxes, we don't ask that you look at that. Water, sewer, we got that. We can do prorations all day long. But do you have the correct buyer? Do you have the correct seller? How about commissions? You know, is there an admin fee? Is there a buyer admin fee? Is there a seller admin fee? We ask that you look, because we're just doing our best to get numbers out. So we need your help in that to make sure that everything's the way that you want it to be.
I'm going to interject here real quick. As we were talking last week about contract to close processes and flow of communication, we mentioned that last week too, that Lynn mentioned amendments. So any amendments that are happening between accepted offer and closing also has to get to the title company. So if, when you're negotiating an inspection, for example, and that purchase price changes from $350 to $340 based off of a basement repair that has to happen, we need to make sure that that amendment gets over to Lynn and Focus Title, so that they are adjusting the closing statement and adjusting the title policy accordingly. So just a good rule of thumb, any paperwork that is being handled between accepted offer and closing should get to the title company. Okay.
I just was going to go back into the chat. I know someone did say, who are the lenders that require wet signatures? They're kind of a few and far between. UW Credit Union is one of recent. BMO Harris is one of recent. A lot of them are accepting the DocuSign signatures, but I do know those two for certain. And then I see that someone was having a hard time with the stream. I'm not sure who that was, because it just shows us iPhone. So if somebody, you know, wants to just have a quick chat over the phone, email me. I'm happy to chat with you outside of this if it's not working well. So yeah, I kind of feel like we touched base on a lot of different things. Just in looking at the closing statement again, home warranty, that's another thing. That's one that you get the offer and you're like, oh yeah, back burner that, I'll work on that later. Just don't forget to get us the invoice so we know who to pay. Same with invoices. If there's invoices for work done throughout the transaction, if we can get those as well. If there's contractors that we need to pay or people that we need to pay directly. Once we sit down with a seller for pre-sign, we're going to ask them some questions too. And I guess I'd like to touch base on that a little bit. Per our owner's policy, or our owner's affidavit, excuse me, we're going to ask those sellers at the pre-sign or at the table if they've had any repairs or constructions done on the property within the past 6 months. that's the point where we're probably going to be looking for lien waivers. And it makes you guys look like absolute rock stars when we can say, we already got lien waivers from your agent. Everything's great. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind as you're going through the transaction. If there's like a radon mitigation system being added, make sure you get us a copy of the lien waiver for that so that we have that in the file already. You know, we do our best to keep everything organized for you guys through the transaction, and we certainly appreciate you using Focus Title. So I think
Yeah,
that's all.
I want to touch on that too, just because for like newer agents who may not know, like when we're negotiating inspections, you had mentioned getting any invoices over to the title company. So just so you guys know that as part of your inspection negotiations, if the seller doesn't have cash on hand to make a repair, 9.9 times out of 10, a contractor will accept payment out of proceeds. So know that that is an option for you guys when negotiating repairs on inspections. That, you know, the seller's going to be expecting to take home a large chunk of change. They can pay that contractor out of their proceeds. And
that's a really good point too. We do work directly with a lot of contractors. So depending on who the contractor is, I've even had situations where the contractor will come to our office like right away after close to pick up a check. So if that's the case, just make sure you're again getting us in touch with or communicating contact information for both parties. That also kind of leads into like the very last piece, and that's don't always assume that the title company knows where and when closing is. We're always last to know. I don't know how that works. We're always last to know. Just remember, there's a lot of moving parts in a real estate transaction, right? Just because we're working for you as the listing agent and on the seller side, that doesn't always mean that the lender is communicating to us or reaching out to us. So, you know, as soon as you get an email that's here's the closing information, forward that on to your closer. It just helps. It helps us, you know, stay on track and make sure that we're there for you. We will, in the beginning of a real estate transaction, connect with the lender and the title company for the lender if that's not us. A lot of times it ends up being us for both sides to the transaction. But we do communicate to them early on in the transaction, but that doesn't always still mean that we find out time and place of closing. So yeah, as soon as you hear something, make sure you're letting either your transaction coordinator know or us know, just so that we can stay on track and get there for you. So
yeah, I was commenting last week. A lot of our jobs as agents during this process is just kind of like managing the pieces, like and
connecting the dots.
Connecting dots. Like we don't have a lot to do with like in the weeds of it, but just connecting all of the players. Yep. So and that is what, you know, why we have like Renee at Focus doing transaction management, because they are the ones who for a nominal fee can help you with those with connecting those dots. So, but as I also, that said, I also want to say it's very important that we have an understanding as agents on how those pieces are connected so that we can still answer questions for our clients and customers. So
yeah, and I would also love to, I don't know if it's something that you guys are interested in or if, you know, the group of agents that are on here, but if you guys are interested in learning more about the numbers, like what exactly goes into the closing statement, what exactly goes into the buyer CD, I'd be happy to do a quick little seminar on that too. So keep us in mind. We can always try to walk you through the most of what we know. So at least we're all on the same page that way. So
yeah, we can coordinate that then for next month, maybe just doing like a deeper dive to the closing statement, for example, as you kind of
good idea.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, are there any questions real quick?
Yeah, I would like to add at this point, it's a truism in real estate as a real estate agent, probably in life, but especially in real estate, is never assume anything. That's usually what it makes.
No better words have been spoken. Yep.
And that is so true with your relationship with title. Don't just assume that that can just be brushed over to title and they'll take care of everything and you show up at closing. You are, as they just said, the coordinator, the person that's managing, making sure that your client is on step, on schedule, and understanding, and that all the key factors, including the lender, the title, all are also on the same page. It's critically important. We run into so many problems where, oh, I thought that was being taken care of, or don't ever assume.
Yeah, we just had an experience with a closing on Friday where there were some things being handled outside of close, furniture and things of that nature being handled, and neither agent from either side, the buyer or the seller side, it's outside of close, which means we really aren't supposed to be dealing with any of that at all. And we didn't have any idea. So, that just kind of goes right back to the statement of don't assume. Give us a heads up whenever you can on something like that. We're happy to jump in and help and do what we can, even as simple as lock boxes. Like let us know. Are you coming to another office to grab a lockbox? Let us know. We're happy to grab them. Otherwise, we end up with really heavy bags by the end of the week.
Well, Lynn, you were wonderful. Thank you
Yes.
so much for this.
Yeah.
This is a busy time for you, so we really appreciate it. And we'll
Yeah.
continue to stress the importance of knowing what you need to know about title.
Yeah, and if there's any questions that anybody has that they want to ask after the fact, by all means, like I said, I'm reachable. Just give me a holler, give me a call, give me an email, shoot me a text. I'm on all the rosters. Just let me know what I can help with. We're happy to help. And we appreciate everyone's business. We know that we're very fortunate to be in business with some of the best of the